Our next tip is about how social media affects your trademarks. And there's been so much discussion and explosion of social media in the last few years. And what this means is that brand names are really becoming more and more difficult to find unique ones, and they're multiplying all over the internet. Some companies have social media sites that are parallel to their existing brand names. Some create new brands. Same thing with mobile phone applications. A lot of companies are now investing in phone applications. Sometimes they use the same brand name. Sometimes they have a new brand or a new logo that promotes the phone applications. And it just means that brands are even more prevalent today than they were a year ago, or certainly than they were 5 years ago. And it means that protecting and monitoring your trademarks is even more important today. If your business has social media pages, you should make sure that on them your trademark, your brand names, your logos are being used properly, going back to the usage tips that we had earlier in the conference. And you should be sure that you're using proper notice. Again, if it's registered, use the R with a circle prominently so people know that it's registered. If it's not, use TM or SM where appropriate. Also, when using social media for business, you should really make sure that you are aware of the terms of the sites that you are participating on. Be aware of what types of intellectual property you can and cannot post on those sites. Be aware of what rights you're giving the site, like Facebook or Twitter or some other social media site, in the content that you are uploading and producing on those sites. Because the terms of use, while they're quite extensive and quite boring, they are quite important as it relates to intellectual property. Bonus tip for social media use is to register as many usernames on the prominent social media networks that correlate with your important brand names and trademarks. You can do this manually. You can do this for a fee through some other sites. That some of the sites at least let you search what's out there for free. One that I've used and like is called Knowem, KNOWEM.com. And with a simple search on that, you can search hundreds of social media sites and see what usernames that correlate with your trademark have already been taken, might result in an infringement situation, or are still available. If they're still available and it costs nothing, I urge you to go out and register it, even if you're not using them, merely to help avoid the situation of somebody else registering them and using them in an infringing manner. Our next tip is about international protection for your trademarks. When you register a trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, you're protecting it in the United States. The scope extends to all 50 states, but it doesn't really give you any protection in other countries. When you use your trademark in other countries, you gain some protection, but to really protect your trademark in other countries, you must register it, like in the U.S. And you must, unfortunately, go country by country. There is not one international registration available that covers the world as a whole. There is a system called the Madrid Protocol that allows you to import your application from the U.S. or from another member country into other countries that participate in the Madrid Protocol, and this saves time and saves money and saves legal work, but it does have some drawbacks. The main drawback is that if the original application, or registration, let's presume it's in the United States, is abandoned either by accident or because you're no longer using the trademark in the U.S., or it's attacked in the U.S. as a part of a dispute, that could affect your rights in all of the countries that you have gone out and registered through this Madrid Protocol. Whereas if you do an individual registration in other countries without using Madrid Protocol, just directly apply to France or to Italy or to Mexico or to China without using the international Madrid Protocol system, each registration is separate and any attack on one of them would not affect the others necessarily. Of course, the con of doing it that way is that it's much, much more expensive. You generally must go through foreign counsel in each country where you're doing an application and perhaps doing a clearance search first, and it adds up quickly to considerable amounts of money. So, as a whole, we generally advise our clients that unless they have a significant amount of business in any one particular country or in the EU as a whole, unless it's maybe 10%, 15% or more of their business in any country, that international protection probably isn't the most critical investment. That's not to say it's not a good idea if there's unlimited funds, but assuming funds are limited, I would really concentrate on the markets where you have significant amounts of business. Bonus tip in the realm of international protection is beware of scams. When you file with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, your address and your contact information become a public record, even when you file with an attorney, and you will almost certainly receive emails, faxes, and letters from companies that claim to give you some sort of international registry for your trademark for a fee of several hundred or several $1,000s. These things are almost all, if not all, scams. They're basically just printing a book that lists the name of the trademarks that people paid to include in the book. And it's not through any official government entity, and it doesn't have any legal protections to be published in that book. And so be very careful of those scams. If you receive one and you're not sure, feel free to forward it to our office or to an attorney. Our next section is about U.S. Customs recordation.
Yeah, so topic number 8, and this is a handy tool that a lot of people don't know about, and it's inexpensive and easy to do, and that's recording your trademark registration with U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It costs $190 per class of goods listed in your registration, but it lasts for the remainder of your trademark registration until you have to renew it again, which oftentimes is many years. And what it does is it puts the Customs and Border Protection on notice that you are the one who controls exclusive rights to use that mark in the United States, and allows them to do some of your work for you by inspecting goods that are coming to the country and making sure that no one who doesn't have authorization isn't bringing in counterfeit goods or unauthorized goods that are used under your mark. Now, they won't necessarily catch everything. That nothing's guaranteed there, but it is a big job, and they can do a lot of work for you on your behalf for just a little bit of effort. It applies to all 317 ports of entry in the United States, and they're working 24 hours a day inspecting goods. When they do find something that potentially conflicts with your mark, they generally send you, if you've recorded your trademark, information about the goods that they've stopped. They can send you samples, they can send you information about who imported it and where it's coming from, where it was going even, and so that also allows you to do your own investigation and figure out who these people are who are bringing in unauthorized merchandise under your mark, and then you can go take action against them elsewhere. So it really bolsters your ability to fight counterfeiting and to fight infringements. Another great element of recording your trademark with Customs is it also gives you the right to work with Customs and train them about how best to find counterfeits of your goods. You have the right to go give presentations to the Customs and Border Protection officers at ports of entry and show them examples of counterfeit goods that you've encountered. You can also send in product identification guides that identify suspected infringers. They identify, they give examples of what counterfeit goods look like, or what ports counterfeit goods might be coming from. And all these things, put the power of Customs and Border Protection at the disposal of the trademark rights holder. And and like I said, it's a very simple and inexpensive process. The bonus tip is, you can register your trademark with Customs and Border Protection electronically, even online at their website. It's cbp.gov, cbp.gov.